All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. We're so honored to have Coach JV, Mr. John Vasquez, here with us. Mallory and I have been looking forward to getting him on the show for a while here, the Purveyors of Health. So thank you all for being here and joining us. Mallory, do you have anything you'd like to add before we introduce Coach JV?
The same sentiments. Thank you all for joining. Thank you so much, Coach JV, for replying in such a quick fashion to our invitation. I really do appreciate that so much. I know that your time's super valuable, so I appreciate it. Yeah, I just think that it would be good to acquaint ourselves with each other. So if you wouldn't mind just giving us a brief rundown of what it is you do and how you got here now.
Yeah, so I'll try to spare you guys the 4-hour story. So I think it's important to share the story and the journey of how I got to where I'm at. So it kind of ties together and why I'm in this paradigm that I live in now. So my past, I'll share a personal story which will kind of tie us into the journey where we're at right now, and I'll make it as quick as possible. But about 15 years ago, I just completely wrecked my life, like really, really bad. So I was a competitive bodybuilder. I had a club promotion company. I had just in a really totally different paradigm. And so I ended up having an opiate addiction. I'll spare you the whole story, but I ended up having an opiate addiction and attempted suicide on December 18, 2006. Woke up 48 hours later to a great awakening. That was my first awakening. I woke up from a phone call from my mom, and the first thing I said was, man, I couldn't kill myself, right? So a negative thought just came out right away. And so, but I got a phone call from my mom, and this kind of sounds weird. I had no spirituality background, no religious background. My spiritual journey started from a call from my mom, and she said, you need to read a book. I don't know what the F is going on with you, but you need to read a book called The Secret. And so I read a book called The Secret, and I was sitting in my office and I'm looking around and I'm like, did I create all of this? And I was like, whoa. And then I started saying, when I said I was like, who is I? Who I am. And I started saying, I am. Who is I? Who am I? Who am I? And then I just went through this. So this goes into where we're at right now, but that was 15 years ago. And I just started to understand who the great I am was, and it was me. And so I started to speak to myself different. I am great. I'm healthy. I'm wealthy. At this point, a massive amount of negative money in my account. I owed people money. I ran 3 businesses into the ground. My life in the physical realm was completely destroyed, right? And so I just started to reprogram my subconscious mind through I am affirmations. I had nothing else to believe in. I was like, shoot, I attempted suicide. I failed from suicide. A 3-year-old daughter I couldn't take care of. I was being evicted from my apartment. I was living in my car. I say purposely homeless. I'm very clear about that because ego kept me from going to live with my parents. So I slept in my car for 2 days. So I want to be cautious what I say because I had a place to go. Purposely egotistical homeless for 2 days, slept in my car. And then I just started to keep repeating, I'm great, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, I'm abundant. When I ended up getting a job that became a career, and I ended up in banking, ironically. And so the funny thing about banking is I have dyslexia. So the first thing I call my mom and I'm like, I got a job in banking. She's like, banking? Like, and so now I know why God, the universe, omnipresence, whatever you want to call it. I believe in God and presence. And so like now I know why I went in banking, because it made 0 sense for me to be in banking. Zero, like none. I went from military bodybuilder, meathead to banking. And so now I get this banking job and I call my mom and she's like, you can't even do math. Like, what the hell? And I'm like, I don't know, but they said they liked my energy. So so they said I liked your energy. So I got a job as a banker. And so they're like, we'll train you. And so, so I started going into banking, and I got really obsessed with the physical construct of banks and how they worked. And I'm like, okay, the system and customer service and all this stuff. And so I really dove into it. Now at this point I was starving, basically. I needed to, so I worked harder than anybody else. And I started following these patterns, these I am patterns. I started, waking up early than everybody else. I started meditating. I started praying. I was going into Buddhism at that point. I'm the kind of person who goes like all in on stuff. So I was like, I'm going to be a Buddhist monk on top of a mountain. And so I'm going through this Buddhist thing. And then I realized I'm freaking working in the damn matrix. And I didn't realize it until I went to a banking school. So I was a company man. I was fully in the bank. I'm like, I'm a company man. I'm going to move up the ranks. And I was moving up really fast. Well, I ended up making executive in 2 years, 7 months, 28 days, and never been done before. And I was like in that realm, right? And I'm like, somebody asked me one day, how did you do that? And I'm like, shit, I don't know, man. Like, maybe because I was hungry and I lost everything and I wanted to prove to people. I'm like, no, it was because I was speaking positive to myself. And so I wrote a book about the patterns. I'm like, so I started following my own book. And then next thing you know, they come to me, and now I know why all this happened within my paradigm and why I'm here, because they come to me and they're like, hey, we want to send you to executive banking school. And I'm like, that's cool. And so I'm like, that's great. So they fly me out to South Carolina, and we end up going to this campus in South Carolina called Furman University. And then I'll fast forward the story. So Furman University, we get there, and there's executives from all over the world. And it's called CBA Executive Banking School, and you get a certificate in banking. So the point of that and why it's important for this conversation is two things happened. I had a spiritual awakening there, and number one, I had a spiritual awakening. Number two, I realized our banking system. And I was seeing it different than other people. Now, my brain works backwards. I have dyslexia. Since I was a kid, I would always reverse engineer everything. So I would see something. I was the kind of the off kid. I would see something, and then I would reverse it to the intention or to how did that start? Like, for example, like I'll be driving down the freeway, I'll see someone getting pulled over for a DUI, and my brain will go, what decisions did they make all the way from the first drink all the way to that? So that's how my brain works. It works backwards. It's interesting. And so I'm sitting in banking school. And so now we go to Furman University, most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. Now, we didn't go to school at Furman University. We used their campus. So executives from all over the world would fly there. And I noticed something interesting. So we're all making tons of money. I probably was making the least amount of money. I was a newer executive, right? And everybody seemed to be so caught up in like, just substance abuse, like alcohol, drinking, like the opiates, like just using medications. And I'm like, we're all making so much money. Why? Everyone seems so unhappy. They always needed something to make them feel better. And I'm like, okay, that was the first thing I noticed. Number two, we're in the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life. This campus was built by brick 100 years ago by hand, and nobody was noticing that. I'm walking around the landscaper, this guy, like every morning, this guy's out. I mean, it's the most, and I'm like, nobody notices this. Why am I the only one noticing it? So they started calling me the Zen executive. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? I have no idea what that means. Now at this point, I'm doing some breathing, some meditation. I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast. I was starting to awaken a little bit. I was in my little mini spiritual world. Well, I'm walking down this little path, and I see this thing has kanji writing on it, and it's a path going up. And I go up this path, and there's like this Buddhist little temple up there, little tiny temple, and it says, "All due respect." It just has a sign, "Take your shoes off." And I go sit on the steps. I couldn't get into it, but I sat on the steps, and you overlook all of South Carolina, and I got this sick feeling in my stomach. It's like, you have to leave banking. I'm like, who was that? I'm like, what the hell was that? And it was like, you have to leave banking. And I'm like, what is that? Was like year two. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Now we fly down there every year for around the summertime to do our banking school. So after that, my brain switched. So I started to listen really intently. Plus I was struggling through school, so I got a tutor. And when we got to the point where they're like, okay, you got to fund your bank. So we had to build a bank from the ground up. So we had a simulation. You had to build the bank in a simulation from the ground up. In year three, you graduate as a CEO of a bank, right? So you have to meet with regulators. You have to do, the FINRA, all this stuff. You have to do all the regulation. And we had different roles and teams. And so we got to the point where they're like, all right, we'll fund the banks. And so like, I was like, where does the money come from? This is where it all started for me, the awakening and studying the system. And so they're like, where does the money come from? And they're like, the Federal Reserve. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, where did they get the money from? It's kind of like, where do we come from? Right. It's like that answer. It's like, where do we actually come from? And so it was like, they print the money. And I'm like, okay, but they print the money, but where does that come from? They're like, well, they just print the money. I'm like, that sounds really simple, but it has to come from somewhere. There has to be some sort of inception. That has to be sort of like, so we buy treasury bonds. We do, it's repos to the banks. And I'm like, okay, I understand that, but where does the money come from? What is backing the money? Like, what is the system? And everybody kind of giggle about it. I'm like, I don't think it's funny. Like, I really want to know where the money. So they're like, well, look up the Federal. So I would go to the library, and I was studying the Federal Reserve. So I looked up Jekyll Island, and I started studying this is where we're at now. So I started studying all the elite people in the world. I started studying 1903, our education system, going into 1971, the World Economic Forum being created. At the same time, we detached from the gold standard. And then I followed the rabbit hole all the way around, from the elite people to the richest people in the world, to the connection to the money, to media, to where we're at. So going into year three, now I'm in this real conundrum, because now I'm moving up the ranks in banking. I'm an executive now, vice president, making a ton of money. I got the car, I got the house, but I'm miserable inside. I'm like, what the heck? I got to make a decision. So I graduated executive banking school, and it was a little bit of a journey, but I decided to leave. And I had no idea really what I was going to do. Now, I had been in the fitness industry before. I was going through this awakening, and I knew that I wanted to work with plant medicines. I blame it all on Joe Rogan. So I just kept watching all the different people going on his podcast. And I got really obsessed, like Paul Stamets, Terrence McKenna, and I just started to study at a really deep level. The brain, because I knew that I changed my whole life just by saying I am. And just by putting up vision boards and just by believing in myself, I'm like, well, if I was able to physically or mentally change the construct of my brain from a person who was sad enough to kill themselves to someone who really believed in themselves, what else is out there? And so I really wanted to do ayahuasca. And so I said it to myself. I'm like, I want to do ayahuasca. I want to go through an experience. And so the whole journey started while I left corporate. And I'm like, oh, so I had a bunch of money in the bank, which was really exciting. So I had a bunch of money in the bank. And so I kind of had a safety net, right? So I had no plan B. I wasn't going back. So I had a bachelor's degree, executive banking degree. I'm like, I cut it off. I actually threw a bunch of my stuff away. If you guys saw one of my stories, I have all my trophies, bodybuilding trophies in a box. I just left it all in the past. And so I started this journey, and that's how it goes into Zen Life Dan and stuff. And so just all these crazy things started to happen to me. All these people started showing up in my life, right? So I did, DMT was my first experience, which just, it opened up a pathway. And then I just started doing my studying around the quantum financial system, studying the elites. And I started to share with myself, I'm going to learn this game so I can never be played the rest of my life. And so I said something, I was at our other gym, it was just like a gym. It was interesting. I was doing mindset coaching, breathing, meditation, and high intensity training to get people to awaken, right? And I said one day on a YouTube video, it's in my YouTube channel, I just said, I look completely different too. I said, I'm going to be a warrior in a modern day society. And I'm going to document it. I have no idea what it meant. I had no idea what it meant. And I went on this journey. Next thing you know, I lost all my money, and then all these crazy connections started happening, and I was back up. And then I lost my money again, boom, then I'm back up. And I'm like, why do I always rise back up? Why does it always work out for me? And so we started to get into, so now it's probably what we're on to here, but it's important for the journey, because it's not just like I got into cryptocurrency just because, I wanted to get rich. I got into cryptocurrency because I feel I was guided to it by higher power. You can believe it or not, but I do a lot of subconscious mind programming. So you'll see me with headphones on all the time, nonstop. If I'm not talking to other humans, I'm constantly programming my subconscious mind to wealth and abundance. Now, I want to be very clear. For me, I started to use the word freedom because there was a lot of resistance when I was trying to attract things. I would say, oh, now the reason why I am going to be a multi-millionaire is because I want to bring money back to the people. We're the uncommon 1%. I hate poverty. I can't stand it because poverty is here, right? So I'm teaching people to be abundant here, and that's why it always works out for me. So I started to really look at, okay, how can I build a physical construct? How can I build a system that helps people see that it's all here, but also they can see it gain monetary? And then I started, crypto was kind of back then, was even a year or two ago, it was deemed a fraud, right? And I really wanted to debunk that. I'm like, I know that it's not a fraud, because you have to understand that the banking system that we run on is called the SWIFT system. That's an old archaic banking system that was built 50 years ago. So you can't move into the new quantum realm with the same banking system. It's literally mathematically, spirit, everything it can't. And so that's how I explain it to people. I'm like, imagine trying to like I don't know, I'm trying to think, like imagine like you had a beeper, right? And then you had a phone, and then you had a flip phone, then we had MySpace, and then that's just basically the evolution of where we're going. And so many people are stuck in this paradigm of what they've been preemptive programmed to, that cryptocurrency is a fraud, right? And so now here we are, about 3 years later since I left corporate America, and I wasn't even talking about crypto. I had my own crypto portfolio. I was building my portfolio slowly but surely, building to what I felt was where we're going to go. And I pray a lot. I talk to God. I feel like he speaks to me, or God, my God conscious speaks to me. And one day I was just like, you got to talk about it. I was in a plant medicine experience. I came out like, you got to talk about it. I'm like, but what does that mean? Like what, because I don't want to be like, hey, get rich guys on cryptocurrency. You got to talk about what's happening in the world. You got to tell people what you know, but let them know, teach them how to fish. Don't give them the fish. I'm like, okay. And Kevin and I, my business partner, we love the life of Jesus. We study the life of Jesus. We're non-religious. We just love the life of Jesus. We think he's a really cool person. Like the way he did things and the way he spoke in parables. And, he was speaking truth. I think he went and did meditation and breathing for 18 years and came back and started with speaking truth because he opened up his God's consciousness. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to start talking about it. And then I guess a lot of people are waiting to wake up. Well, awakening to a new reality, right? And so there's a lot of questions around crypto, like, because we've been stuck in an old paradigm, and in the spiritual community too, it's people are like, is that spiritual? Is it non-spiritual? Is it the mark of the beast? Is it this? And it's all these questions that people have around it. what it is it's human evolution, right? And so what I share with people, and then I'll stop because I talk a lot and I'll see if you have any questions. But so I tell people, I show them the pen. I'm like, this pen is, I could write a love letter to somebody. I could write a love letter to you guys, right? It could be beautiful. I could write beautiful music. I could also stab you in the neck with this, right? It has contrast to it. I could kill somebody with this pen, or I could write a beautiful letter with this pen. Okay, so everything you can deem as evil, everything you can deem as bad, right? Everything has yin, everything has yang, everything has light, everything has darkness. Now, within this quantum financial system and this new green deal that they're taking us into, if it's the intention is to bring us back to God's consciousness, to bring the earth to light and bring us back to God's earth, then that's freaking fantastic. But you got to know there's a bigger agenda to that. The rich are going to get really, 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 really rich, and the poor are going to get really, really poor. The middle class are going to get wiped out. So I'll pause for just a moment. That was a lot of information, but I think it's important to know the whole story, that I'm not some just dude that's trying to make millions of dollars and, you know, go and try to get people rich and things like that. I tell people, I'm like, that's not what this is for. That's about abundance here. And that's why it always seems to work out for me. And everybody has the same ability. That's one thing I want people to understand. Like we always tell people in our academy, don't believe a word we say. Don't look up to us. You have this. I want people to look up to themselves. So I'll pause for just a moment. That was a lot of information. So
Thank you so much for all the information. That was beautiful. I think I saw some questions in the chat. Someone asked how they get into cryptocurrency, or how do they, I'm looking for it and I don't even see it.
Can I ask you a question, Mallory?
Yes, of course, Michael.
Hey, brother, how are you?
hi.
I'm Michael, and pleased to meet you. Love your story. Love what you're doing. I have a couple of comments, and then I got a couple of questions.
Cool.
So one around language, because language is a very interesting thing, as we all know, right? Because language is solely based on our own story and not necessarily any reality to it whatsoever, right?
Yep.
So I think it's important to set a context when we're talking about consciousness. Nobody's bringing us back to consciousness. We are consciousness. We've always been consciousness. It's not something that somebody's going to give to us. It's inherently us. So I just wanted to set that platform. Yep. If that's cool with you.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing about crypto, because I actually am involved with crypto. I'm actually involved with a new offering of crypto in Canada, which will be universal. One of the things, and I'm coming at this again from a place of naivety. It's not something that I have any expertise in or whatsoever. I do believe in exploring other constructs, but in that word itself, it's still yet a man-made construct, right? It's just another construct, right? And some have been very successful, i.e. Bitcoin is one, and it has its limitations as well, I believe. Right? Litecoin, may or may not take off, but there's been also a bunch of them that have not been particularly well, let me use the word constructed, and have failed as constructs, right? Yeah. So I'm just wondering what your point of view is on that, because it's still yet another construct that we could be falling into.
Great.
Is that clear?
Yeah, 100%. And I'll break down the Bitcoin narrative and then also the exactly what you're talking about. And that's what you guys are seeing. So there's so many people, like, I feel like think about it, when we're in the spiritual community, right? It seems like the biggest world, right? But then when you remove yourself from it, it's a really small world, just like crypto. Like, for example, one of the biggest investments I have is XRP, not a financial advisor, not financial advice, but XRP, there's only 2 million wallets invested in XRP, right? And so there's a really small percentage of people. And so to answer your question, it's still the wild, wild west. And what I mean by that is that's the narrative that you're seeing right now. The SEC is suing XRP Ripple, right? They're going after Tether now. So what's happening is he's exactly right. This is a brand new asset class. We haven't had a new asset class since the 1600s. I'll repeat that. We haven't had a new asset class since the 1600s. So the new asset class is coming, is called crypto. And he's exactly right. There's a lot of bad actors in this space. And what I mean by that, there's a lot, they're called, in the stock market, it's IPO. In the crypto space, it's ICO, initial coin offering. So there's all these people in the crypto space trying to make money, trying to open these coins. And there's a lot of really crappy coins, just like there's some crappy IPOs, right? And so what what we have to look at too is the narrative that's being sold to us, right? We've been told that Bitcoin's a fraud for quite a while. Jamie Dimon, this is a quote, Jamie Dimon, I was in banking during this time in 2017, the CEO of Chase, or JP Morgan, right? Chase, said that cryptocurrency is a fraud and Bitcoin's a fraud. And if you buy and sell cryptocurrency, you're a criminal, right? At the same time that he's buying and selling cryptocurrency, right? So there's a big narrative that's pushing the retail people away from it. Now, to help kind of back up the narrative of crypto and where we're heading is 1996, MIT was already working on cryptocurrency protocols. You can actually pull this stuff up. So MIT in 1996, just look up MIT, and if you guys, I can get you these resources. They were actually building a cryptocurrency protocol. And so what's happening right now within the narrative of cryptocurrency, you're going to hear a lot of bad news, which is going to scare a lot of retail investors away. And what's happened now, retail investors, us, right? They call us, just so you know, they call us dumb money, and they're the smart money, right? The elites are the smart money. And so what they do is they try to shake us out. And so he's exactly right. It is a brand new asset class, and there's going to be a lot of failures. There's going to be a lot of people that get scammed. There's going to be a lot of people that get really hurt in this game, just to be honest. I call it a game because it seems like a game, right? Because money is just energy, money is just vibration. So hopefully the answer. So Bitcoin, he's right. It has basically zero utility. It's so clunky. So to explain what Bitcoin is, so everybody knows what Bitcoin is, right? So Bitcoin is the thing you hear about all the time. Bitcoin is a store of value. It has very little utility. It's very expensive because it has to be mined. There's actually somebody at a computer. Every time you do a transaction, there's some Bitcoin miner actually mining your transaction. It puts it into the actual block, right? They make sure that the block links up. Somebody has to be paid to do that. So it's expensive to move Bitcoin across the rails. He's exactly right. The reason why Bitcoin is so expensive and why its value is going up because of its scarcity, right? Every 4 years, I think it's every 4 years, they do a Bitcoin halving. And so there's less and less Bitcoin being mined. So the value continues to go up. Now, here's what's going to happen in the space. And hopefully, if I didn't answer your question, I'll pause for a moment. But as we
but maybe you could add on one thing, because and I like where you're going with this. But as I understand it, Bitcoin, it's a finite construct, right? Which is why the have would already have. It's not that they're adding extra Bitcoin. There's only X amount of Bitcoin.
Yep, 100%. Yep, he's got it. So there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin. There'll never be any more Bitcoin. And most cryptocurrencies have what's called a market cap. I think all of them do. I might be speaking out of school, but so don't quote me on this. But I believe that all that I know have a market cap. And so they'll never be made any more of that cryptocurrency. Like XRP has a market cap, Ethereum has a market cap. And so that's good because it makes it a scarce asset, which is awesome. The bigger the market cap, the less probably price appreciation you're going to get. Now let's walk through the crypto. So he's exactly right. Bitcoin is very scarce. It's a store of value. What you're seeing now, let's back up for a moment. So let's talk about why we're in the position we're in. 1971, we detached from the gold standard. Now what that means is we actually removed something. So you have a dollar here. We actually removed gold from the dollar. President Nixon did that, right? And ironically, the World Economic Forum started in 1971. Okay, so that you just want to put that in your toolbox. So they detached from the gold standard, and that means they could just start printing money. We became a fully debt-based society. So let's rationalize where we're at right now in our society. So from 1971 to now, we're a debt-based society. So if you put $100,000 into the economy, that's $100,000 in salary. If that debt cycle stops and everybody goes bankrupt or you pay off all the debt, America falls. That's how our whole system runs, okay, to make it as simple as possible. Okay, what's happening right now is because the C word, the pandemic, whatever you want to call it, as we're looking this way at a pandemic, they're trying to fix a system over this way, right? Because you can't keep printing money. We're at a point where we can't keep printing money. So what they're doing is they're stimulating the economy. And a fun fact is since Bitcoin was created, there's been more money printed in history since Bitcoin was created. So that's just a little thing to put in your pocketbook, right? So it's kind of in your, I always say toolbox. So now where we're at is we're getting stimulus checks, which is not good for the economy. It's actually hurting our economy even more, but we're getting stimulus checks and they're lowering interest rates down. And so Germany went to negative interest rates. Now, what does that mean, right? So if you're not in banking, it's like, okay, what does that mean? You get paid to go get a loan. Like they'll literally pay you to go to loan. The problem with that though, is when you go negative interest rates in a loan, now they can take your bank account negative interest rates when they have a CBD, say a central bank digital currency. So when you have a central bank digital currency and you have money in there, they can actually deflate the money in your account. So how they stimulate the economy is they actually going to force you, they don't force you, but because your money's deflating, they're going to have you push that into the economy, right? Would you rather go buy maybe some land or go buy, I don't know, some food or cell phone or something? Or would you rather see your account deflate, right? So what's happening, what the scary part about this, just give you a little bit of fear so we can activate and become the uncommon 1%, right? Is that the closer we get to the central bank, well, the more we go into CBDC, central bank digital currency, which is basically a cryptocurrency, a blockchain, the closer we get to the central bank. Banks, commercial banks started getting pushed out. So they're getting into the cryptocurrency game. Okay. Now, what you're going to experience within your bank, which is weird, and this goes into his thing, like it is a new asset class. And the modern day bank run is going to be people, when they realize we're moving to a blockchain, is trying to take all their money out of the bank and go into crypto, right? The banks don't want that to happen. So right now you're seeing people's debit cards get declined when they try to buy crypto. People are trying to use their credit cards, they're declining that, which I understand that. You don't want people buying. Well, that's how people, it's not their money anyways, but we can go down a different rabbit hole with that. So to answer his question, yes. So Bitcoin there's a finite amount, not a finite amount. There's a set amount, excuse me. What the halving does, they mine less of it every single 4 years, right? So then you have Bitcoin. So imagine that's like a pictured gold, right? So then you have what are called altcoins. Everything else is an altcoin after that. Those are alternative coins. And so the next one would be Ethereum. Number 2 is Ethereum. Now Ethereum is like the birth of most cryptocurrencies. Most cryptocurrencies run off Ethereum. And then you have my favorite, XRP. And so I'll pause for just a moment, but he's exactly right. It is a brand new asset class, and it's going to take a while for people to get used to it. It's kind of like moving from, my mom still writes checks, which is crazy, but she's in crypto, which is funny. So she writes checks. And so but she has a debit card. So when the way I explained it to her, I was like, Mom, you remember you went from check to a debit card, you had your credit card, and then you went to online banking, and you'll notice that your banks are like, hey, have you used your online wallet? They're training us, preemptive programming us to get onto this thing, right? And then the pandemic, I always get afraid. I want to shut you, I don't know if Zoom will shut us down, but I get shadow banned all the time for using words. But the pandemic, the C word, right? What it's done is it's forced us to use this thing, right? It's got us all on here ordering our food. And then Amazon just announced, we knew they were coming into pharmaceuticals, but they launched a pharmaceutical company. So now you're gonna have drones delivering your medication. And so the way that I do my investments is I have a technical analysis team that looks technical analysis, but I invest in the future. I look at, say, where are the elites taking us? And how can I get ahead of that curve? And how can I be part of that so I can bring the money back to people? Like sitting in here, we have a grow tower. We're going to start growing vegetables in our own little sustainable grow tower in our academy. So our goal is to bring the money back to the people. But hopefully that answers the question. But you're right. He's exactly right. It's brand new. It's brand new in our world, though.
Can I elaborate a little bit more, or ask you to elaborate a little bit more?
Yes.
And again, I want to preface this by saying I own coin. Okay, yeah. So I own currency. Oh, in fact, the currency that's launching here, will have its own crypto bank. It's a whole new thing that's happening, right? Nice. But what is your perspective on, is this not just another scenario of because it goes back to this analogy, to make money, you need money, mm-hmm. Right? So is this not still going to feed the rich are going to get richer and the poor are going to get poorer?
100%. That's exactly what's going to happen. Just being straight up, the elites, they don't play games with their money, man. So they're literally, so why? This is what we have to ask ourselves. So I teach people the game. I'm like, there's a whole narrative going on, right? As we're all looking this way, they are stacking their bags this way. They're calling it the Green Deal, right? So they're packaging the Green Deal. If you look at the Paris Agreement, Green Deal, they're taking us to zero carbon. But to answer your question, they're taking us to zero carbon by 2050. What does that mean, right? All companies have to be zero carbon by 2050. If they're not getting financing. So you're going to see companies like Shell, Exxon moving their names to energy companies. They're just going to start to change their name. And so who is going to run that? Blockchain. Blockchain is going to be the infrastructure. So for example, the thing about Bitcoin is not a green crypto, nor is Ethereum. That's why they're making Ethereum 2.0, but XRP, it's a bridge currency. That's one of the first green cryptos. You have VeChain, which is supply chain management. But yes, you're exactly right. The elites, so they say it's the biggest shift in generational wealth. I don't know if you heard that yet, but it's the biggest shift in generational wealth because the elites are moving their money into the crypto space, right? Or technology. Let's just take crypto out of there. You also have the tech companies, right? You have Amazon, you have PayPal, you have
all pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, all pharmaceuticals. I mean, Amazon just announced yesterday that they're in pharmaceuticals. They're literally, you can deliver your medication. So to really understand where we're heading, and you can quote me on this one and come back to this video, is that the things that are going to be standing, and I'm a small business owner, okay? So I'm around small business owners all day. So the only reason I'm standing because I know the game. We know how to shift very quickly. So Amazon, Walmart, Costco. Those companies are going to crush the competition. Mom and pop businesses, small mom and pop businesses that don't understand or are awakened to this are going to get crushed. The unfortunate thing, like Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed said, he goes, we're coming back from the pandemic, but to a new economy. I am worried, I'm paraphrasing, I am worried that the small mom and pop companies aren't going to survive it. They tell us, they're like, hey, listen, we're coming back to a new digital economy, just so you know. And what they're going to do is they're going to slowly preempt a program, and they're going to give you a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. I was wrong with the $600 check, but on the $2,000 check, supposedly that we're going to get, if they, I don't know if they pass it yet, but it's probably going to be on a CBDC. So if you look up Fed Now, so if you want to write down Fed Now, you can actually look up the Fed Now wallet. It's already created. They've already created a Fed Now wallet. So the banks are, what I believe is happening is America kind of slept on their laurels for a little bit. China is super advanced. They're super advanced. Sweden, super advanced. A lot of the countries have already advanced into this digital type age. And America's, I don't know if it's a political theater, but America is definitely behind the 8 ball with this. And so you're seeing a lot of SEC lawsuits. If you guys have seen that, if you've been in the crypto space, that's why I'm calm. My lawyer's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I ain't doing nothing. I'm sitting back and eating popcorn, watching the political theater. I mean, there's all kinds of weird moves happening. You know, Ripple, one of my favorite companies, is being sued by the SEC. Happened right before Jay Clayton left the SEC. We just had a SEC chairman step down. So then we had a new SEC chairman come on, and people are freaking out in the crypto space. I'm like, guys, you got to research who this guy is. He literally was a professor for blockchain at MIT. MIT is where they recruit the elites. And I'm like, this guy taught blockchain at MIT. And so, I did my YouTube video this morning. I'm like, you guys, and here's one thing I share with people. Like, I'm like, please don't, I know this may sound weird, but I tell people this on my YouTube. I'm like, don't believe a word I say. What I'm trying to do is to get you to just go, oh, that makes a little bit of sense, but I want to prove this guy wrong, because that shows me you're fishing. Like, go out there and fish. Like, start watching the World Economic Forum videos, the International Monetary Fund. And so that's all we do all day is 8 to 9. So we train people in the morning, and then we do 8 to 9 hours of research all day in our academy here. We have thousands of people sending us information. Are we right all the time? No, we miss the mark a lot of times because everybody in the financial space is speculating, because there's a little wizard behind the curtain that's hitting the button. We don't know who that wizard is. So there's things with the QAnon movement and Trump and Biden and all this stuff. To me, it's not left and right. It's we're human beings, and it's like we have to come together, right? But we do have to understand there's a game being played, right? So I'm not going to put my head in the sand and be like, okay, I'm just going to follow along the system. I'm breaking free from the system, learning how to create my own system and live within that system to bring back to the people. So, but
start independent thinking.
Yes, 100%. Yep. And so that's how I got to this point. I believe I was divinely guided, though. I mean, why did I go into banking? I can't even do math, but
Brother, I really like what you have to say. I'm going to reach out to you on your own format as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think Cody wanted to jump in here and ask.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, man? My name's Cody. Dude, everything you say, I completely align with and have been like just absolutely follow everything. And man, I too was in the military, and I was in the infantry. So the warrior mindset you have is I can't describe. My heart rate is like flying through the roof right now. It's crazy. But my question is, what in your toolbox do you carry from the military? Like, what do you do every day that you implement from there? Like a conscious mindset that you develop there? Because I would like to know what, if maybe like, maybe I align with that too, or it's something new.
Yes, I got chills. I actually got chills. So that means something aligned, right? So it's God, I'm gonna get emotional. So what the military taught me, I'll be honest with you, I started to wake up in the military. I'm like, something's wrong with this, man. So there was something that I served my country. So it's like, I did my thing. I'm like, but I'm not saying my whole family did, but hear me out. So what I learned in the military is that what you do repeatedly gets ingrained in your subconscious mind. What gets ingrained in your subconscious mind becomes your unconscious activity. That's what the elites know. So I'm going through, so I'm using the CIA. So this, I don't know if you guys heard of the Gateway Project. Okay, so to answer the question, it's doing something repeatedly over and over and over and over. Obviously something that's going to benefit you until it becomes an unconscious activity. So I've studied so much, and I learned that from the military. So I just keep doing the same things over and over again. I study, like if I pick a crypto, I study it and I study it and I study it and I study it till I can speak it like it's my own cryptocurrency, right? And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into this crypto. So that's what I learned from it, that if I keep repeatedly do something, it will just become an unconscious activity. Once it becomes an unconscious activity, I've reached mastery, right? But that also, Cody, great question. What also did is it allowed me to see what they've been doing to us for a long time, because I studied the Gateway Project. I would highly recommend you look it up. It's from the CIA. It's an unclassified document now. And I studied how they taught people that, you know, we can move into conscious awareness, as he's talking about. We're all conscious beings, right? And they do these programming. Well, I got access to the one of the guys in our program is an EDM DJ, and he got access to the actual sounds that they used. And so what I realized is that I reprogram my subconscious mind to be where I'm at today. So I listen to these same videos over and over and over and over and over again every night while I sleep. There's one called I Am Money Magnet, and this goes back to the military. I'm like, if I keep listening to this every night, I'll see what happens. So I fall asleep in 15 minutes every night. I sleep for a short amount of time. I'm very militant. So I'd never listened to the video all the way through. Never, because I fall asleep. I turn it off when I get up, take a shower, come to the academy. So one day, me and my business partner, we started listening to it. It's 8 hours long. I started listening to it. Every single thing in that video has come true. Everything. Like, it was like, I mean, it was eerie. It was like, you're going to be teaching economics. I'm like, we weren't even talking about economics before. It was a mindset academy. Who would talk about their own finances? Like, I'm a business owner, right? I own businesses. I have a podcast. I'm the motivation guy. And I'm like, and it said, you'll be talking about economics. You'll be teaching people. And I'm like, okay, there's something to that. But what the military knows, Cody, is that that's why they do it in boot camp. They make you do the same things over. They break you down, they build you up. They break you down, they build you up. And so they know that. So since we're little kids, from our cartoons all the way to the way we go to school, the way we sit in school, the way that we go to lunch at school, the bell that rings, we have an 8-hour school day. We have an 8-hour work day. we don't go to school on the, public schools. We don't go to school on the weekends. We don't usually work on the weekends, right? So that, I mean, that's not an exact math, but and then another thing that tripped me out is because they know this. Now, this is biblical stuff too. Like, this is, like, I go back. So during my I do want to share this. So during my plant medicine experience, I have no clue, but I feel like I met Constantine. I know if any of you have done plant medicine, you probably can vibe with me on where I went somewhere completely different. Why I feel like I know Constantine, who was the Catholic ruler that removed a lot of books from the Bible, right? And I'm not a biblical scholar, I'm not a theologist, but there's the first verse that he removed from one of the books that I believe he removed was the Book of Thomas, right? In the first verse, it says, "Seek and you will find. Find and you'll be dismayed." You're like, holy crap. Once you're dismayed, you'll be astonished. You'll go, what the heck? And then you'll realize you're a king. And I was like, whoa. And so I just started going down this rabbit hole and finding all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, now I know why I was in the military, Cody. Because I wasn't fit for what I mean by fit for the military, I'm a free thinker. I mean, I was spinning their heads. I was getting in trouble all the time because I was questioning authority. I was like, but you're not doing that. Like, why are you telling me to do this? Why are you telling me to march this way when you're not doing it? So my brain was already in that weird mold. I could see efficiencies were wrong. Like, we're spending all this, like, just frivolous spending in the military. I'm like, we're spending all this money. I'm like, we can do this more efficiently. Don't talk back. I'm like, what? Like, I'm trying to show you how we can save money for our country. Like that doesn't make sense. Like, you guys are doing it very inefficient. That's 30 years ago. Like, we can be more efficient. And so to answer the question, yeah, whatever you do repeatedly is showing up in your physical reality right now. So.
Hey, thank you for that, bro. I have the same exact mentality, and like, oh man, I can't wait to talk to you more after this too. But right before I joined the military, I got into ecstasy, DMT, and like I started becoming a dancer, and then I joined the military, and it was like, I just saw everything for what it was, and it was kind of like, it was a comedy. I made it a comedy and just like, just repeated, but I don't want to talk too much, man. I can't wait to like learn so much more from you. Like, the information you gave me was like, holy cow. Thanks, man.
And I'm learning from you guys too. I'm no expert, just so you guys know. I'm just the guy that's just going after it. I don't know.
So, Gabriel wanted to speak. Are you there, Gabriel?
Yeah, first I want to say I appreciate the info you're giving. I really appreciate your story, and it really resonates with me because subconscious programming has really had a big impact on my life, and has where I'm at now is so much different. It's just night and day from where I was like 3 years ago. So my question's about cryptocurrency. I have a mentor who mentioned that China's made moves against cryptocurrency. I haven't looked into that quite enough yet because he just said it a couple of days ago. And I do own some cryptocurrency, but one of my concerns, and one that he mentioned, was what are you concerned that the government could, if crypto starts competing with our currency, that they would ban the use of cryptocurrency? Are you concerned at all about that?
Absolutely, it's a very valid concern. Here's why: the political theater that's going on right now. So you got to think that and I don't know if it's a political theater. I don't know who's behind the curtain, right? So I don't know what's going on. But we know that we're at battle with China, right? So in regards to the paradigm, the physical reality that's created within this construct or whatever it is. So we're in battle with China, right? And so China, if things don't change, China's going to be the new superpower in 10 years. So there's this weird narrative going on now. Now, 90% of the Bitcoin mining, if I'm speaking out of school, it's around 80 or 90% is done in China. So there's definitely a huge risk. That's a communist country, right? They could literally just shut down all the mines. A great example is Robert Kiyosaki. He opened up a gold mine in China. They took it from him. They literally just walked in there and said, it's gone. Now, this is not to provide fear for you guys. So I have a broad portfolio, very, very fundamental portfolio. I have a weird feeling about Bitcoin. I just do, and I go by my gut. Now, I'm not saying Bitcoin's not good or bad to invest in. I'm invested in Bitcoin, just, but it's not a biggest part of my portfolio. The risk that we're running is President Trump just signed a executive order. I usually have them off the top of my head. There was an executive order that just signed, and I'm going to tell you what I think it is. I could be wrong. I could be right. Okay. So he signed an executive order banning most Chinese tech companies. I don't know if you guys saw that executive order, right? What I believe what was happening is that he was trying to get the elites, because everybody's buying Chinese stock right now. China's GDP grow, and this will hopefully answer your question. China's GDP is at 56%. That's gross domestic product. We're at 100. Last time I checked, we're at 106. I think we're heading to 150%. That's really bad. We're in a really bad position in America. That means if we went in to buy a car, if America went in to buy a car, we get declined, where our debt to income ratio is negative. China is kicking ass. They're at 56% debt to income ratio. So China has us by the, so they have, and so we're in a weird position, right? And so there's a lot of Chinese tech companies that Trump wants shut down. Now, I don't know if that's political theater. Now, the concern that he probably has is that, right? Because most of the mining is done in China. But there's a lot of cryptocurrencies too that are outside of China. So I believe, and please don't take this as financial advice, guys. I'm the person who puts my roots in and I stick with what I invest in. I do not sway. I do not listen to, if I believe in something, I'm not letting you sway my opinion, and I will go down with the ship, right? I learned that in the military too. But yes, I am a little concerned of it. I don't think they're going to ban cryptocurrency. What I think they're going to do is I think they're going to regulate the living crap out of it. They're going to get their hands in it. They're going to regulate it. But now there's the pen thing, right, that I explained, the yin and yang. That's not always bad, because here's the thing. I don't know if you guys heard the story. I wish I can't remember the guy's name. There's a guy right now that it's all over the news in the crypto space where he has $2 million in a Bitcoin wallet. He has 2 more attempts. It's all over. I think it's all over the crypto. God, I wish I remember his name so you could look it up. He has 2 more attempts to get his password right. If he misses it the second time, his $2 million is gone, because it's unregulated. So you own your crypto. You're the bank. So if you lose your keys, if you're not on an exchange and you have that on a wallet, if you lose that, nobody has access to that. So that's where regulation comes in, having a bank or an ally to go to and say, hey, listen, hey, Wells Fargo, you have my crypto wallet. I forgot my password. So that's where regulation is positive, right? Because some things need to be regulated. I understand decentralized. So, I mean, I don't really argue with people because whatever people believe is their truth. But those are the concerns I have. What I think is going to happen, Gabriel, is that why they're suing Ripple. Now, you got to think about this if you guys know the story. So Ripple, everybody calls Ripple the XRP. Ripple's a company, XRP is a coin. Everybody calls Ripple the banker's coin, right? All the Bitcoin maxis were pissed. They're like, they're the banker's coin. Well, since their inception, they've been communicating with the SEC every single month. But then the SEC sues them right before Jay Clayton leaves, that's a political theater. They're like, hey, we're going to sue Ripple, right? And so they're working to get regulation in, right? And they're moving it in very rapidly because we have a pandemic, a C word going on this way, so they can quickly move us this way. Another thing to bring up, Gabriel, about to mix kind of your, I think it was Cody, to mix the two together. What we learned in the military and also with the powers to be, it's called problem, reaction, solution. The person who creates the problem can come up with the solution. It's what narcissists do. So they'll come up with the problem, a pandemic, they lock us down, they get us scared, they get us fearful, they get us sick. And it's like, oh, and then we start to react. We start to fight with each other. We start to get confused. Depression goes through the roof. People start taking opiates, alcohol, and they're like, hey guys, we got the solution. We're going to get your money really fast. We're going to start doing everything right here. You can do your medical records on here. Don't even worry about it. You're going to be fine. Money's dirty. Money's really dirty, guys. So they're trying to move us quickly into this paradigm because other countries are way ahead of us in America. So yes, my concerns is that I'm going to call them shit coins. Sorry, people call them shit coins. Excuse my language, but shit coins, like there's a lot of crappy cryptocurrencies. They're going to get wiped out. I think that 99% of cryptocurrencies are just going to get wiped off the face of the earth because there's a lot of crappy currencies. They're just like, hey, we're opening up Coach JV cryptocurrency and they do an ICO, they raise a bunch of money, and there's like Dogecoin. It's Elon Musk keeps messing with it. Like Kevin, I laughed at all the time because he's like Dogecoin, and so it's just there's really no utility to it. It's just like this weird dog, and it's like this. So that's kind of an example of it. But like the fundamental stuff, Bitcoin is a store of value. Now, the reason why I don't think it's going to go away is because you got to remember the people who control the money control the population, right? You have Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy. This is almost his whole portfolio in Bitcoin. Like there's heavy elite people that have their money all in Bitcoin. So they're not going to just shut something off and shut down all the elites, right? So what they are going to do though is I think Bitcoin's going to kind of be the unregulated one, maybe, I don't know. And then they're going to come into the altcoins. They're going to regulate the crap out of them, which it'll end up being just like the stock market, right? So I don't think that they're going to get rid of cryptocurrency. I really don't, because it's how we're going to operate our system. Does that make sense? So
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I think the odds of us not moving towards a digital currency is 0%. So yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you nailed it, Gabriel. You like I tell people, it's a freight train that's left the station. You're either going to get on board with it. You don't have to get on board with it. Just know that you're going to get run over by it if you resist it, right? It's kind of like that resistance thing. I had a good conversation, an educated conversation with somebody. I don't argue with people. I just don't, because I'm not trying to convince people to be in cryptocurrency. There's no benefit to me, right? And so I just want to help people take advantage of this. Well, like the elites do, they say, hey, we're taking advantage of the pandemic. They say, don't let a good pandemic go to waste. Hey, we may as well not let it go to waste and bring the money back to the people. And so I'm playing their game, right? And so I shared with somebody, there was a guy that was having I call it educated conversation. I'm just listening. He's like, man, you're a fraud. You're this, you're that. He's like, cryptocurrency, you're guiding people the wrong way. He's like, it's a fraud. It's never going to work. He's like, I'm not getting involved in the system. I'm not letting the man take control of me. And as he's doing this, I'm like, I know the guy. And I'm like, so as you talk into your iPhone watch and you go home to your Alexa and you talk into your Alexa, but you're not going to be part of the system. I'm like, oh, okay, I got you, man. I got you. I was like sitting there, I just like, okay. I'm like, you're in the system, man. You're already in the system. Like you're already in the matrix. Like, what are you doing? I said, the only way you're going to get away from it is you're going to go out to the forest, shut your phone off, get in a cabin, live under the stars, but then when they throw up the satellites, they're still going to be able to reach you, man. So it's like, it's this weird world we live in, because I'm very open and spiritual, but I call myself a warrior in a modern day society. So I'm just not buying into the whole mark of the beast thing. I'm just not. I understand that there's like, because we could say that about paper money, then we shouldn't use credit cards, because in the Bible, it's illegal to charge interest, but we all have credit cards, we have car payments, we have house payments. And so like, I don't know, that's kind of another rabbit hole. But to answer your question, Gabriel, you're right. We're 0% chance that we're not moving into the blockchain, that we're not moving into a quantum financial system. What's going to happen is the bad actors are going to get wiped out. So if you stick with fundamental cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, not financial advice, Ethereum, XRP, VeChain, things that provide real, so all my cryptocurrency connect to the elites, just so you know. And you might be like, well, why the hell would you want to buy into that? Because I want the money back to the people. That's my point. So.
John?
Thank you. It looks like, oh,
I got one other quick question. Sorry. What do you think, because Bitcoin now is at an all-time high,
Yes.
right? And had its all-time high a while ago, and then it fell for various reasons that were going on at the time. I was just curious with your discussion around regulation. Do you think as regulation, and it will be inevitable in some format or another, I don't know what it is. I have no vision of what that might be, but do you think that there's a likelihood that once regulation is implemented, Bitcoin will have a correction?
I think it's still going to go to all-time highs. I really do, and that's from all of us in the crypto space. So there's because why I think that is because the elites, the Citibank, they're saying it could go to $300,000, which is crazy. Well, why can't it, right? It's gone to $40-something thousand, which is crazy. And so I think regulation is just going to shake out bad actors, to be honest with you. And all the research, because I was in banking before, and they do that to scare the bad actors, right? Now, another thing that there's a lawsuit going on with Tether. So I don't know if you guys have heard of that. So Tether is the USD, right? Tether backs USD. And so watch Tether. Okay, understand Tether. Tether, when Tether pumps, Bitcoin pumps. There's some correlation there. Tether manipulates Bitcoin. Okay, now remember, we have to understand this. The stock market and even cryptocurrency is manipulated by the elites. They manipulate it, right? So when you see a big sell-off, a lot of times it's the elites moving their money so they could freak us out, so you can get the SEC. They knew that was coming. They're all like, okay, so like Brad Garland says, hey, we're going to get sued by the SEC. So the elites are like, let's go. All the weak investors are going to start running. Boom. We all, I bought in when it dropped. And so they're manipulating the market. They buy low, they sell high. Right. And so I don't think it's going to mess with the price appreciation for Bitcoin. I think we're going to have a lot of clarity by March. And what the biggest clarity is going to be is what happens in America in the next 10 days. That's going to be very eye-opening, I think, for a lot of us. I think America fundamentally, after the 21st, no matter what you believe or what happens, fundamentally, I think our whole construct of America is going to change. Just my opinion. I think we're all going to be shocked. I think that our minds, I think that it's going to awaken the living shit out of people, to be honest with you. And I think people are going to go, holy crap. Okay. Now I really have to reconstruct everything within my mind and understand where we're going, right? And that has to do with regulation. Like, think about it. In December 21st, I said it wrong on my TikTok. I said summer solstice. We had winter solstice. We had moving from Capricorn energy to an Aquarius energy. That's from Earth to like airy type energy. We're moving from industrial to technical. We're moving from the old financial system to a quantum financial system. And so it's like, it almost aligns with spirituality and God and the cosmos. Like you could go with any type of religion and stuff. It aligns with the Bible too. Like if you love the Bible, like it aligns. And so our world has to change. And so this is one thing I want to say too, to go back to Gabriel's point. We operate on what's called this. I didn't go down this rabbit hole. We operate on what's called the SWIFT system. That's an old archaic banking system. Okay, so you can't move into the new quantum financial system on that system anymore. You have to. So supply chain management is going to move at the speed of light, right? They're going to start making like I just invested in a company called DM, and they make metals through they'll send you a 3D copy of it, and they can make the metals right there. And so there's the whole way we move money, the whole way we move supply chain is going to change, right? And so when supply chain management was to be like, think of Amazon. Your money has to move at the speed of light. Because think about it, I'm a business owner. So if I buy toilet paper from China and I'm like, hey, dude, I paid for my toilet paper in 3 seconds. What's up? So it has to go from that purchase order. It's called a purchase order. Then it goes to the next person who does the order. Then it gets on the ship and it comes. I want that stuff now. I want to know that hit the system. I want to see what happens all the way through. Another thing too, like VeChain. VeChain just signed on for COVID tracking. That's a cryptocurrency. It's going to track the COVID on your phone. Think about that. So that's where you can bring the money back to. I know that's people like, oh, well, you're investing. VeChain is Nike, H&M, Walmart, food safety for McDonald's, which is disgusting, but they're making. That's ironic, making McDonald's food safe. Sorry, that was funny. I just thought that. But anyways, I get all excited, but hopefully that helps.
We have more questions if you have time.
Yeah, I do. Let me just say, hey, Kev, would you be able to coach the 415? I'm still on here. Okay, it's okay, cool. I just want to make sure you could. Okay, I'm good. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Natalie, are you still here? Do you have a question still?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. And then Joseph had a question.
Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing everything that you shared, brother. I really appreciate all the information. my question to you would be, what are your thoughts and feelings towards investing in gold and precious metals? And also, what are your thoughts and feelings towards a technological crash happening in the midst of all this Bitcoin and cryptocurrency stuff going on right now?
Yeah, like a grid shutdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. Actually, ironically, I'm following that on my phone right now. The power shutdown. Did you guys see like Washington? Like I'm following this thing where all the power outages are happening. We have a bunch of clients in our Warrior Academy in Canada, and it's like moving across the West Coast, all these power outages. Well, to answer your question there, so that is a scary part of it. So the power outages. So the way I've been explaining it to people is it's really hard to avoid that, right? Like that's going to happen. And why I think it's going to happen is because they're going to shut the grid down so they can move us into a new system, right? So the way I explain it, when we used to work at banks, we would have to stay as the managers. We'd have to stay at the bank. We'd shut the bank down to move into a new system, right? So you have to shut the grid down to move into a new system. So if you're concerned about that with cryptocurrency, is you're going to want to move it onto a hard wallet, some type of hard wallet, like a Ledger Nano, a Ledger Nano S, a Ledger Nano X. You can get your crypto off of the actual off of the exchange onto your, so you have a physical wallet. That was what I was talking about with the guy with the $2 million. He doesn't remember his password with $2 million of crypto. And if the beautiful thing about it is that's yours. I have a lot of mine on my wallet, right? Or not a lot. I have a good amount of my portfolio on my wallet. If the grid goes down, what I think is, like, think about this. It's going to come back up. Everything should be there when we come back up. Because if not, think about it. Everybody would lose their bank accounts. They would lose all their information. All the clouds would crash. So, I mean, the world would go crazy. So I think it's crashing does that make sense? Like, that's the way I rationalize it. Like, imagine all the elites' money would be gone too. Everybody's money would be gone. So if you have concerns with that, I would get it off of the exchange onto a Ledger Nano S, Ledger Nano X. Another thing, caution is if you're going to get a wallet, they're called hard wallets. Make sure you buy it from the manufacturer. Do not go to Amazon. Do not go buy it off of some rinky-dink website, because those are fraudulent. They can be fraud. They're not all fraudulent. But just make sure you buy it from the actual manufacturer. Another thing too, I just want to say safety. A couple things is, don't ever send anybody your crypto that you don't know. There is never any type of contest where it's like, send your crypto to me, I'll give you crypto back. Don't ever fall for that. If you do get a hard wallet, I just want to be, because people get scammed all the time. If you get a hard wallet, the hard wallet companies will never ask you for your keys. Call them, reach out to them. If somebody emails you, call them. I just want to say that. And I sorry, I missed your first question. Sorry about that.
It was about investing in gold and precious metals rather than Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general.
Yeah, so I'm all about it, man. It's God, that's God's money. What I say mean all about it. I encourage people, if they're not comfortable with crypto, precious metals are a great way to go, because that's God's money. Think about it. Gold is the most abundant resource we have. It can be used in everything. People don't realize cell phones. It's the most abundant resource. It will hold its value. What's happening, as we notice, is Bitcoin is actually still in its thunder of appreciation, right? Usually when the dollar starts to deflate, people who understand money, who want to get out of a deflationary asset, they move it into gold, silver, right? Well, now you have this new asset class, which is Bitcoin. That's why the value is going up so much. I'm all about it. I'm fully, just so you guys know, do not do what I'm doing. Just letting you guys know, I'm fully in crypto, 100%. I'm a heavy risk taker. I would highly recommend, like he's saying, like Joseph says, if you're getting into crypto, only get into something that you can afford to lose. If you woke up the next day and you're like I'm good, like I can still survive, like I tell people, don't do what I do. Do the complete opposite of what I do. And then it's good to diversify. Gold, silver. Somebody who should look up if you're going to get in that space is Lynette Zhang. So even if you misspell her name, it'll come up. She is IMT trading. I have no affiliation with her. She is solid, and she talks about the Great Reset. She's woke. She talks about the Great Reset. She's been in trading for 25 years. She has a very solid platform. I bought silver from her. Silver is very undervalued right now. Silver is a great asset to have. Tech stocks too, guys, like tech stocks. I'm telling you, Tesla, I think he just became the richest guy. It fell back, but he came back. I think we're going to Mars, guys. I really think we're going to Mars. I really do. Another thing, how I do my investments, I just shared with my warriors that I just went into. Now, none of this is financial advice. I went into a company called DM. It's oh my gosh, I just forgot what the acronym stands for. So I went into it because of the World Economic Forum. I was studying the world. I studied working at Economic Forum. I studied like articles from years back, and in 2018. They talked about the company DM was presenting at the World Economic Forum and talking about how supply chain management be different. And they just went public on December 10th. So I invested in things like that. But yeah, it's a long answer to the question. But yeah, absolutely. If you're not comfortable with cryptos, that's God's money. You can never go wrong with gold and silver.
Thank you for all of everything that you've provided, bro. I really appreciate your time and your energy. And yeah, dude, thank you for empowering yourself to empower other people, bro. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
We think Cody, Wild Tree Man, you out there still with the question? Still with us? You're
Muted.
Cody. You're muted, Cody.
All right, there we go. What a rookie move. Thanks, Angelo. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on and explaining all this. It was super powerful, and I can feel your passion just within the way that you speak and hold yourself. And I just want to acknowledge that. And thank you so much, brother.
Thank you.
So my question would be, you've kind of touched on a little bit. We've done crypto. We've talked about gold. We haven't really talked about real estate. If someone, like, let's just talk brass tacks quick, because I want to respect your time.
Yeah,
You got 20 G's. Where would you put it? Would you diversify into metals and crypto? Or like, if someone was like, what do you recommend?
Yeah, so I always have to say this legally. My lawyer have to say I'm not a financial advisor, not financial advice. I'm just documenting my journey in the quantum financial system. I got that thing down to like second. So, but what I want to talk about real estate first. So my plan, I'll tell you my exact plan, is the reason why I'm not heavily going into. So I'll share with you guys what my business. I own a Warrior Academy. I have a podcast. I have a podcast company. So I have multiple companies. So I love Robert Kiyosaki. The whole I don't like paying taxes, and so my design is. So I went through a divorce. I'm very open with you guys, everybody. I went through a divorce about a year ago. Got crushed financially. Blah blah blah. Lost my assets. Now I'm back, but I haven't bought real estate yet. So I just got a really nice, luxury apartment. I'm like, okay, so I'm doing the Robert Kiyosaki model. I'm going real estate, renting, and then I'm going to buy properties. But I'm waiting. Here's why I'm waiting, is because so when my crypto portfolio moons, I'm taking. So I now don't do this, but I'm at 100% crypto investment. When my crypto portfolio moves, I'm set up for generational wealth. I've been just accumulating at pennies on the dollar for a long time. And so when that moons, I'm going to be moving a big pot, keep 20% of my portfolio in crypto. And then I'm going to be taking in gold and silver. And then I'm going to be taking the rest and going into real estate. But what I'm going to be going into is apartment complexes, single or multi-family homes that are more inexpensive for people to move into. Because here's what I see happening. The rent moratorium ended on December 31st, 2020. People are going to get wiped out. People are going to get crushed in the next year and a half. It's going to be really sad. There's going to be a lot of people. It's going to be we're worse than the Great Depression right now, our economy. We're going to see people in food lines. People are going to be losing their jobs. Families are going to be moving back in together. And so what I would like to do, so in real estate, I would be looking at personally, I'm not a real estate investor, so this is not advice, but what I'm going to do is wait to see what happens with the market, with people getting evicted, people getting kicked out of their places, families moving in together. And so like, we're going to start looking at apartment complexes. So that's what I would do. If I had $20,000 sitting right here next to me, so I would probably, if you want to be less risky, I would definitely go into some precious metals. Okay. And then I would go into cryptocurrencies, but I would focus on fundamentals, right? I'd focus on the ones that are real world solves. That's why I show my warriors my portfolio on things like Ethereum. Ethereum is the birth of all cryptocurrencies. If Ethereum goes out, the whole crypto space goes out. Another thing too, if you guys know the Ripple investigation or whatever, think about it. If they take Ripple out, everybody's out. Like the whole market's gone, right? Number 3 cryptocurrency is Ripple. So I would focus on fundamentals. VeChain, Ripple, which is XRP. You have Ethereum, ADA. ADA is going to give Google a run for their money. That's
Right, what's that last one? ADA.
ADA. AD is in dog, Apple. So, and it's
Alpha Delta Alpha.
Yep. It's called Cardano. So here's another thing you guys have to look, or choose to is think about is what's happening with Facebook, what's happening with Google, what's happening with the censorship. Like, think about. I'm not talking politics. I don't ever talk politics, but you have to listen to what's happening. Like, we got to take our emotions out of this and see what's happened. They just banned the president of the United States from almost every social media platform. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Like, take emotions out of it. Like, what does that tell you? Okay. That obviously there is no freedom of speech, right? Because you should be able to say whatever the hell you want. I get banned I got on my TikTok so close to being taken down. I was deemed a dangerous individual because I talk about the elites. I'm a dangerous individual because I talk about factual things that are in history, right? Or is it facts? I don't know. But we have to think about that. And so that's how I think of investing wise. So people are getting pissed at Facebook. They're getting irritated with Facebook, right? So people are moving to things like the internet, Google. People are moving to things like DuckDuckGoose, the Brave browser. Like, you can invest in BAT, B-A-T. That's a cryptocurrency. The Brave browser, that's what I use. It's they actually block a bunch of the advertisements. They get paid to use the internet in cryptocurrency. So you got to think where we're heading, because as a society, we're starting to wake up to the censorship, right? That's why I say take the politics out of it. You just have to understand we're being censored. That's a fact, right? So I say certain things on my stories and it literally gets shut down. I say certain things on my TikTok, it gets shut down. I have to be careful on my YouTube. I have to say the C word. I can't say the word. That's why I say it. I say the pandemic, and I do this whole narrative that I know what words are going to shut me down. And so you have to really think, okay, where are people going to start going, right? Where are people, they're going to start looking for decentralized areas. And that's probably where you should invest in, if you think about it, right? Mm-hmm. So, but does that make sense? So if I had let me answer the question. Sorry, I was dancing around it. If I had $20,000, I would put, if you want to be safe, I would, if I had 10, I would put 10 in precious metals. I'd put 10 in crypto. And then, looking at the fundamental cryptos, because I'm telling you guys, we're going to see a bull run. It's called a bull run. So bear market is like the bear, and then the bull, right? The bull hits you. The bull is, so that's what a bear market, a bear is like this, a bull shoots you up in the air. So we're going into a bull market and a parabolic market. So also crypto fall. This is interesting. Crypto follows a market cycle, and it also follows what's called the Fibonacci sequence, which is God's fingerprint, which is pretty interesting. The 369 Fibonacci is one of the most commonly used technical analysis terms, and it's God's fingerprint, which is really interesting to me, the whole thing. But yeah, so that's what I would do.
Awesome, John. That's fantastic. And just one last thing, would you be in the mindset right now to get rid of your fiat currency? So if you've been investing with your fiat currency over the last years, if you have different sources of investments in stocks, would you be pulled to pull that out and put it in cryptos and metals?
I did. Robert Kiyosaki did. Well, let's think about let's take me out of the picture, right? I'm some little investor, right? And so, let's look at what Warren Buffett's doing right now. So Warren Buffett, Robert Kiyosaki. Let's take Warren Buffett, one of the top investors in the world, right? So Warren Buffett just recently moved most of his portfolio out of bank stocks, right? But except one bank stock, he went up 10% in Bank of America. His number one holding is Apple. Number two is Bank of America. Okay, so that tells you something. He moved out of fiat, right? He moved out of fiat, but why did he increase his position in Bank of America? And I'll tell you that in just a second. He went from banks to gold mines. So the richest person, one of the richest people in the world, the smartest investor in the world, actually moved from fiat banks into gold mines. But why did he move up 10% in Bank of America? Here's what I think is going to happen. I like to put this on video because if I'm right, I'm going to look really cool. If I'm wrong, I'm going to look really stupid.
First bank with crypto.
Yeah, what happened? Yeah, so Ripple, XRP. So Ripple's the company, XRP is the coin. So there's usually the company and then the coin, right? Ripple is connected to Bank of America. Okay. I believe that XRP is going to be the dollar back the dollar. That's what I believe. I believe it with my heart of hearts of hearts of hearts. Because they just did what's called a Spark airdrop. They launched a new coin, the Flare network. They launched a spare, and they gave us all XRP holders. They snapshotted our accounts, and in April we get the same amount of Spark token. The SEC is suing Ripple. Ripple has showed up in so many different narratives. Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO, this is the type of research I do. Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, is on the committee for the World Economic Forum for the Cryptocurrency Committee. He also has met with regulators since their inception. Every single month has met with regulators. He's the only one that they have on CNN, Fox. So you had like, people are just like, they're watching, there's a lot of great YouTubers out there, but we're all speculating. So yeah, it's interesting. I watch Warren Buffett. Now, Warren Buffett's not in crypto. He won't admit it that he's not in crypto. I don't know, but we see his portfolio, but he is going into gold, right? And he is going into Bank of America. Why would he increase his position in Bank of America if all the banks are going to fall, right? That you have to think about that. My paradigm is they're connected to Ripple. They've admitted they're working off the Ripple net, right? Ripple net. And so, let's talk about that. I want to clarify something. So understanding how important crypto is for banks. This is important to understand. So let's talk about XRP and Ripple. And I'm not trying to sell, but I want you to understand what crypto does for a bank. So now the narrative, right? So they're going to move us to a CBDC, central bank digital. That's going to move us closer to the central bank. So if I'm a commercial bank, holy shit, like I'm about to lose my power. I'm about to lose my power. So when you're about to lose power, what do? You move quickly and efficiently to where the public space is moving. Think about it. Cash App, PayPal, you can do cryptocurrency now, right? So us are waking up and they want a piece of that. So like, okay, so so they're going to lose they're not going to be able to buy back repo. The whole economic system is going to change. They're going to have to be a fee-based customer service company. So what they need to do is so when you go into so if I'm sending a wire to Angelo and I'm like, we're going to buy our $5 million compound and help a bunch of people, right? So I'm sending money that's going to happen in the future. I'm going to send him $5 million. We're going to build our sustainable living, right? So I'm sending him $5 million and I'm sitting there, I'm like, yo, Angelo, I'm going to send this over to you. We got to buy the property tomorrow, dude. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to put the wire in. I got to trust that this banker is going to do it correctly. He got to get it approved from a manager. I got to pay a bunch of money for the $5 million. Well, it goes up through our currency, up through the Federal Reserve. Now, Angelo's over in Sweden, right? So we're going to send it to Sweden. It got to go through all the currencies. It goes through the Federal Reserve, back down to Sweden. Angelo's sitting there 4 days later and we lose the property. Well, maybe we get the property, but we missed the escrow closing. And now there's risk to the bank because now we lost $40,000 in our escrow closing. We had to pay an extra $40,000 while I used to run banks. My elite customer is going to call, I'm going to be calling the manager and be like, dude, I'm a high value customer. I want my money back, And so there's liquidity risk. So now what XRP does is I walk in, I'm like, I need to send Angelo some money. They're like, cool, let's do it. Boom, I hit a button, $5 million gets sent in 3 seconds. It immediately gets messaged to Angelo, we bought the property, we're done. 3 seconds, but nobody knows that XRP exists. Nobody knows it. So now I'm the best customer service bank in the world, and your commercials are going to be all around customer service. So whoever's the best at marketing and manipulating the people to come into their bank is going to make the most fees. So I just kind of wanted to position that so you guys understand at a banking level. That's why I understand crypto so well, because my number one job as a banker was to mitigate risk. That's your number one job. You do not lose the bank money, right? You feed the shit out of people and don't lose their money. That's how you can lose your job, is by losing the bank money. And so I just wanted to explain that. That's how the banking system works, right? And so, yeah, hopefully that made sense.
No, yeah, that's good, John. And just to be clear, Ripple's a company, XRP is a ticker.
Yep, correct. And just so you guys know too, I keep talking about XRP. I'm just a big fan of it. I'm not a maximalist on it, but
it's good stuff. Yeah.
It's great. But just so you guys know the narrative right now, it's being delisted for most exchanges on the 19th because of the SEC lawsuit. So on the 19th, they're going to delist it. It's a big political theater that's going on. There's going to be a lawsuit going on. They're suing Ripple for the appearance of trading it as a non-security, right? It is a non-security 7 years ago. This happened 7 years ago when they've been meeting with regulators. So, and then Jay Clayton, the guy who sued them, literally left 2 days later. So it's like, I mean, I can see all the dots connecting. We don't have enough time to talk about it, but so know that if you're trying to get into XRP right now, it's a low price, but also know that it's going to be scary because you get in there and all of a sudden it's going to delist and you're like, what the heck? So,
but you're confident that it's going to come back.
Yeah. And in my little paradigm and world, I could be wrong though. I'm just telling you guys, like I'm speculating just like everybody else, man. I speculate a little bit deeper based on connecting things. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, like in regards to someone else's research, but I use technical analysis and then I also use real world things happening. So I would highly recommend you guys study the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and the World Economic Forum. They'll give you so many clues. So you don't even need me, just like start studying them and see watch the Great Reset video. You realize that was filmed before this pandemic happened and they literally show things like that. I mean, it's like, this has been preemptive programming for a very, 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 very long time, guys. This has been going on since, I mean, we can go into the Kennedy thing when Kennedy was assassinated because he tried to take out the Federal Reserve. He tried to get us back on the gold standard. And so, let me position that we're going back to a gold standard. It's not going to be it's not going to be a piece of gold. It's going to be a cryptocurrency type of way. So that's Judy Shelton saying that. I just took her saying, but that's what I believe is going to happen, because that's the only way you can fix this monetary system. You can't keep doing this. You can't. So does that make sense to where we're at in our finance, like the quantitative easing and printing of money? That's really important to understand. Like these stimulus checks coming out, people are like, yeah, it's like, that's not good. Like, that's not good at all. It's good for the crypto side. I'm like, keep printing it because it's devaluing the money. And another thing to understand, that every single fiat currency, fiat means government issued currency, has failed in history. Every single fiat currency in history has failed. So what's to say the American dollar is not going to fail, that all currencies are going to fail, but they're going to be like, oh guys, it failed. We messed up. The pandemic messed up our whole economy. Problem, reaction, solution. The solution is they get a lot wealthier and it wipes out the middle class.
What about the stuff that you've taken your fiat currency and invested in stocks such as technology? Is that at risk of losing its value when the fiat currency loses its value?
No, I think you'll be good in the tech stocks. You're probably going to see a stock market crash. Absolutely. Like there's going to be a part of the whole narrative because the elites manipulate the stock market, right? So you're going to see a stock market crash, but what goes down must come back, right? As long as you're in the right things. Like I would say, I wouldn't be investing in gas and oil right now. I wouldn't be investing in things that you got to look at, like, like for just kind of a joke, but like it'd be like investing in Blockbuster when Netflix is coming out, right? And so it's like, so like the DM metals that I just invested in, I just put my money in. I'm like, that's a long-term investment. They're not going to hit for like 4 years. I'm also going to be going into what's called Singularity Net. If you've ever seen Sophie the robot, like it's pretty creepy, but she has intelligent.
Oh yeah, Tony Robbins did an interview with him.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
So that's where I saw it, and then I went down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, that's our future. And so Singularity Net is the company that's connected to Sophie the robot. Singularity Net is one of the largest. So what Singularity Net is? Because AI is expensive, super expensive, right? So they are going to help us bring it to scale. So everything in a business is bringing it to scalability. I had to scale my Warrior Academy so I could get it globally, right? I had to get it compacted and scalability. And now I can scale my company all over the world, right? And so AI is not scalable right now. It's expensive. It's for the elites, right? So Singularity Net's going to make AI scalable.
So John, following on what Cody's talking about and what your premise is with respect to following what the elites are doing, although the market might crash, the elites aren't going to let it crash completely because they're not going to want to lose their money either.
100%. Yep. What they do is they let it crash and then they buy back. They'll pull. So what you see crashes are a lot of time the whales moving their money out. So they pull their money, like it happens in Bitcoin. Like you'll see the whales removing their money and then it just crashes and all the weak investors go, oh my God, I'm getting out. What you do is you hold. You literally you get on the surfboard. I was joking my words. I'm like, get on your surfboard. We're going down the wave and just hang on. But it's really hard. So in investing,
cardinal rule of investment, hold.
I say go down with the ship, right? If the ship's going to go, because what'll happen is you'll get wrecked in investing if you're emotional. You'll get wrecked because it's the crypto market. It could go up 30% in one day. I woke up on Sunday and I lost like $17,000 in one day. I was like, okay, no big deal. Next day it was up 25,000. It's just like, it's that volatile. I just want to kind of give you perspective. It's that volatile where you're like, but I learned just to be non-emotional. I'm like, it's just part of the market cycle. And then once you understand it, and a caution too is, remember, scared money doesn't make money. Quick money never works. It never works. That's why lottery winners always go broke. That's why football players who get $1 million contracts, who never learn the subconscious mind, that money is vibration and energy. That's why they go broke. And so that's why I teach my words, subconscious mind programming around money. It's a relationship with God's consciousness that if you're doing good things with your money, it's going to continue to flow. And so with that, what I say is, like, for example, I got punked. I went into day trading and I did yield farming. I lost $6,000 in one day. I was like, I'm out. And the reason why I learned that lesson was to teach people, like, quick money always loses money, right? It's just, it doesn't exist. There's nothing. You have to build fundamentals, foundation, have a good relationship with it, understanding, right? So like, I discourage day trading because about 1% of people make money in day trading because it gets addicting. It's like gambling. You get into it and you're like, oh my God, I made $3,000 in one day. I'm like, I can do it again. I kept doing it. And then all of a sudden I lost $6,000 in one day. I'm like, okay, God, thank you for that. Thank you for that lesson, right? Because if I kept doing that and I start teaching other people doing that, that's not the proper use of your money. That's not good vibrational energy. So not that day trading is bad, but I'm looking for longevity and generational wealth. So I just wanted to put that out there. I know I'm taking a lot of your guys' time. Sorry. Yeah.
Not at all. This is so appreciated. Um, I saw another question in the chat. Does anyone else have any questions that they want to bring to the table, or are we
Yeah,
gonna wrap
since you
it up?
brought up subconscious programming, what is your routine that you use to program your subconscious mind?
Oh, I love that question. Okay, so I have a very specific routine, just like Cody was talking about with the military. So and I always get the brainwaves incorrect. We're moving beta to theta. I think we're going a conscious awareness to subconscious awareness from that grogginess when we go to sleep. So there's 2 points that are super, super critical for your subconscious mind programming is right before bed and then right when you're waking up back into conscious awareness, right? So I'm very, very strategic on how I manage my day. My day is kind of crazy. So let's just talk about my evening and morning routine. So right when I start getting ready for bed, I answer all my messages from like 7 to 8 at night. And so I have kids too. And then I do wind down time. So we call it quiet time in our house. We shut off technology. And then what I do is I actually read a physical book or some type of physical thing, right? So I get my mind really sleepy. And then what I do is I do the Nikola Tesla 369 theory. So let me start with the morning. Sorry. So right when I'm waking up, I put on headphones right away. I grab my headphones and I have 432 HZ playing and I do my I am affirmations. I know everybody goes to the bathroom when they wake up. So I sit on the toilet. I'm like, I'm powerful. I'm healthy. I'm wealthy. I'm so happy and grateful for the money that comes to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a continuous basis. I got that from Bob Proctor. I repeat it about 10 times and then I take them off and then I start into my day, right? When I get to the academy, I get there about 4 o'clock in the morning. I write down 3 things that I have, right? So I'm so thankful for the $1 million a month in income. And I write it down 3 times. I type it to myself because I'm a technology guy. So I type it and then I actually hold it I mix Abraham Hicks and Nikola Tesla. So I hold it for 17 seconds, filling it in my heart and mind, and then I just release it. Okay, then at noon, I do it again 6 times. So I do the same sentence 6 times. I hold it 17 seconds, Abraham Hicks it, Joe Dispenza, lock it in, feel it, see it, let it go. Right before bed, after I do the reading, I do that again 9 times. Then right when I go into bed, you can write this down. The one that I listen to is the I Am Money Magnet. It's by Growing Forever. I think that's a YouTube channel. It's phenomenal. I Am Money Magnet. That plays all night in my house. My kids can hear it. And so if you ever watch my stories, my son, he's a trip, man. He's 5 years old. And if you ask him, how rich are you? He used to say, I'm a multimillionaire. Now understand, he knows what abundance is. He knows it's not just financial. So he says, I used to say, I'm a multimillionaire. He now says I'm a multi-billionaire. Then he said I'm a multi-trillionaire. Yesterday on one of my stories, he said I'm a multi-infinity-aire. The reason why, guys, is because he's being programmed in his subconscious mind while he sleeps. It plays in our whole house, and I play it super ambient because your subconscious mind picks it up. So you got to understand, when you're falling from conscious awareness to subconscious awareness, your brain is wide open. It's like, give me information, give me information. So that's my whole routine. So I do the I Am Money Magnet while I sleep. And then when I wake up 432 HC with my I Am affirmations, I do my 369 manifestation. That's my subconscious mind programming. I also repeat 1,000 times a day. I don't count it. I'm just exaggerating. But I'm so happy and grateful for the money that comes to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a continuous basis. Ironically, I've been doing that since I was 35. I'm 44. When I was in corporate America, I got that from Bob Proctor from The Secret. When I was in corporate America, I tried to start multiple businesses. They shut it down. You're an executive. What are you trying to do? Like, this is the golden ticket. So I didn't do it, the businesses. When I left, now I have 5 sources of income, which is interesting. So it doesn't happen when you want it to, but now I'm 44, 9 years old, and I have 5, not all of them are, exploding, but I do have 5 sources of trickle income coming in, and they're all increasing. And it's weird. This year has been wild. And that's one thing I want to tell people about subconscious mind programming. Just like the military, they make you do it over and over and over and over till it becomes an unconscious activity. So it took me 3 years to start to really see success in the arena, right? And when I started to see success, the freaking C word, we got shut down. Our business got shut down because we're considered a gym. But my programming, I'm like, nope, I'm still rich. I got divorced at the same time, lost all my assets, and I'm right back in literally 10 months. Because I've always been rich right here. I've never changed my parent. And the intention of I wish I could show you guys my vision board, but the intention is freedom for my warriors. It has nothing to do with me. I'm going to be the same dude all the time. Like, I always drive, I drive a normal car, Chevy Malibu, little car. Like those things don't matter to me, but it's the intention too. That's really important. But that's my exact routine. I do that. And I'm always wearing my headphones. I know the Bluetooth and all that stuff, but it's like, I got to pick my battles, but I'm always programming my subconscious mind. That's why I'm a single man. No, I'm just kidding. so I can't date. It's kind of weird, but anyway, so that was a joke.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We
got
we
me
were all
laughing.
laughing there, but we were muted.
Muted.
You were-
Yeah.
yeah. We love you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So great. This is such
Yeah.
great information.
Thank you. I'm honored to be able to share this with you guys. I get emotional talking because it's like, I just want us all to come together, man. I just want, I'm so tired of seeing this political stuff and the left and right and Democrat, Republican, and we're human beings, man. And it's like, this is God's money, man. And it's like, that's where my heart is at with this, right? And it's like, that's why I'm trying to help so many people. And I feel like if these communities, for example, I'm going to speak with a community in Sedona, and I'm really trying to encourage all of us to come together. Because imagine there's 99% of us, there's 1% of them. And I'm not talking about protesting. I'm not talking about fighting or violence. I'm talking about your metaphysical sword, right? Let's get our metaphysical swords and rise, bring that God's consciousness back. Because if there's thousands of us, we have about 500 our academy, we're linking up with other academies. What if we all raised our consciousness so high they couldn't stop us? That you can't penetrate light. You realize that, right? You can't penetrate light. Darkness cannot penetrate light. And so it's such an interesting, I wanted to, because I know you guys have a big community, and that's all I want is all of us to come together. And that the money, unfortunately or fortunately, money helps with this type of stuff, right? When you have the monetary, you can build things, you can build sustainable systems, you can do all that stuff. So I'm just very grateful, as you guys say you are, to be here. I don't consider myself an expert. I'm just somebody who woke up, and I feel I'm divinely guided. I 100% believe that. I'll stand on that, and I'm divinely protected too. That's why I talk so openly on my social media platforms, and I could care less about the elites doing whatever they're going to do or whatever they think they can do. It's I'm divinely protected by God, man. And so, but I just want us all to rise together, man. And so just so you know, I just want to make it very clear. It's not just about monetary for me. It's about the whole thing, right? Freedom. So.
Wow. Thank you so much. I totally agree. We're all humans first and foremost. And the quicker we really wrap that around our beingness, the more we can actually come together and make real change. So thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that was an incredible call. So I appreciate you. I'm sure I can speak for everyone here who's feeling the same. Any last comments you want to make?
I would like to quickly say thank you, John. Really appreciate you, man. Much love and respect to you and what you're doing in your heart space, man. It's huge. And I felt really daunted by investing my whole life. Money and me have never been friends, especially it seems like in this fiat currency system, we're not paid what we're worth as far as, in a material sense. And so it's nice to know that there's community of people out here that we can find alignment with. And I'm so grateful that I've come into alignment with all of you folks for the most part through nutrition and through, just a spirituality connection. So thank you all. And thank you, John, JV. I appreciate you so much, brother.
Thank you. You brought a powerful thing up, about the fiat thing, right? It's energy used to be one way, right? Energy would go into your house, power your TV, power your phone. Now it's two way. It's Bluetooth. It's communication. It's energy. It's vibration. So the food, you talk about the food, we're like gut first, always gut first, man. You can't make investment decisions if you're gutting, right? Don't eat a Snickers bar and then do some day trading. You're jacked. You're going to lose money. Eat healthy. We do a lot of fasting. I make big decisions only when I'm fasted. I don't make decisions. I do not make big financial decisions when I'm not fasted, right? I also look at the construct of the moon, full moon thing. I just don't make. So it's I love that you're saying it's the gut first. And then what happens is you build a relationship, because money, that's the cool thing about the quantum space. It's all energy. it's really just energy. There really isn't going to be a physical construct of money around. So the higher your vibration is through your food, through your meditation, through your breathing. So follow what they're saying. Like the higher your vibration is, the better financial decisions you're going to make. That's a fact. Better relationship decisions you're going to make. And so we work, it's weird how God guided me. We worked on the physical body first, breathing. I went through Wim Hof, all that stuff. And it was like, holy shit, like there's a whole nother world inside of my body. And then once that started to connect, then I got divinely guided to investing, and I got put in cryptocurrency. And it's like, okay, there's something to this whole ecosystem. And then also too, one thing I'll share with people is resistance, right? Whatever you resist most, right? That's you're not going to see abundance in any type of investment if you have a lot of resistance. So if you have a lot of resistance, don't go into it. Like, please, like don't go into crypto if you don't feel good about it. That's one thing I share with people. Don't go in it because you're going to make money. There's so many other ways to work through this system to bring abundance back to your family, right? Crypto is a new asset class, right? So I always tell people, if you don't feel good about it, don't get into it just because someone tells you to. I always just want to make that very clear, because this isn't about cryptocurrency. It's about a great awakening of humans coming together and understanding the game, so we can't be played anymore. That's just what I want to, that's what I want to leave you guys with. So.
All right. Well, your time is greatly valued. And if anyone else wants to jump in real quick, we can do it, or otherwise we can all say goodbye till next time. We'd love to have you come back again, John, if we can schedule another time in the future. We've got some high vibrational people in here, all of the people I know, which is almost all of you here. Yeah. So thank you so much. This has been great, super valuable. And I'm recording this, so I will post this on YouTube, and I can share with anyone else who wants it after I get it downloaded. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Appreciate you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, John. Oop, I got a baby screaming in the background.
Thank you.